Hi, welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Miss Rena, and for today's video discussion, we're going to talk about confidence intervals. We will start with the learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to understand confidence intervals and construct and interpret confidence intervals. Let's look at this situation. You want to sell face shields during this pandemic. You want to sell your product at reasonable prices. Not too low, but not too high either. You browse the internet to see the retail prices of some of your competitors in the business and computed for the average price. In the previous situation, take note that the average retail price is only derived from a sample. The true population mean is unknown. The average retail price will serve as your point estimate, the one that you derived from your sample or from your research. By definition, a point estimate is a value used to approximate the parameter. It is the true unknown value from the population. Point estimates are not limited with means. You can also have estimates such as sample standard deviation or sample range, sample midpoint or median, and sample mode. Now, what is the limitation of point estimates? The point estimate is a value close to, but most likely not the exact value of the population parameter. Through point estimates, we can find interval estimates, also known as confidence intervals. What do we mean by confidence intervals? It is an interval that likely contains the true value of the parameter with a given probability of accuracy or confidence level. Now let's talk about level of confidence. It is the probability that the interval estimate will contain the parameter. The confidence coefficient is given by 1 minus alpha times 100%. Take note that alpha, this symbol here, is the probability of making a wrong decision or coming up with a wrong value. Common values used as confidence level or confidence coefficient are as follows. We have 90%, 95%, and 99%. Now let's talk about the margin of error, E. Please take note of these notations. Yung mga ginagamit natin na notation kanina. Ito, mahalaga to, alpha. And now we have the margin of error, E. The likely difference between the point estimate and the parameter. Now, I've included here a table. We have here the confidence coefficients, 90, 95, 99%, or the confidence level. And then the alpha is the difference between 1 minus the confidence coefficient. So 1 minus 90 or 1 minus 0.90 is 0.10 in decimals. 1 minus 0.95 is 0.05 and 1 minus 0.99 is 0.01. So we have corresponding values in the Z table for each of these. For Z alpha, where alpha is equal to 0.10, we have 1.645. If your confidence level is 95%, you have 1.96, and then for 99%, we have 2.56. Please get used to these values because these are the confidence levels that we are going to use most of the time. So for approximating the true population mean, it is greater than or equal to the sample mean minus the margin of error, but less than or equal to the sample mean plus the margin of error E. Again, the population mean is greater than or equal to the sample mean minus E, but less than or equal the sample mean plus E. Or in interval notation, This is going to serve as the lower limit, your computed value for the difference, separated by a comma. Tapos, the upper limit is the sum of the sample mean and the computed margin of error. Now, how do we find this margin of error E? Itong sample mean, madali lang naman to kasi marunong na kayong kumuha ng average, di ba? So, to compute for E, all you need is the value for Z alpha. I've already given you the value here. Ito lang siya. And then, for the sigma, sabi nga natin, known si population standard deviation. So, given na siya. And of course, the sample size N. So, the Z value is determined by the level of confidence. If you are presented with other level of confidence, pwede nyo naman siyang makuha using the Z table. And we already discussed that before. Nung nag-statistics tayo, nung first year kayo. So, if you need a more comprehensive table, I also included it on your module. So, please just check it out. Now, for the example, a teacher wanted to find the confidence interval for the mean statistics exam score of all students taking the subject. A random sample of 36 scores is taken and gives a sample mean score of 68%. The population standard deviation is 3 points. Help the teacher find a 90% confidence interval for the true mean of statistics exam scores. So I included here a computation. All you have to do is to substitute the values here to our formula and you will end up with this confidence interval. But sometimes, doing manual computation is confusing. So, ang gagawin natin, magko-compute tayo using Excel. I will open an Excel sheet. So, I suggest that you also open an Excel sheet para nasusundan nyo yung step-by-step na procedure natin. Okay? Okay, so balikan natin yung problem. I think this is the slide for the problem. Medyo naglalag lang siya. Hintay lang tayo. So, ito yung given problem. For the Excel, I suggest that you put labels on your first row dito. So, what are the values that we need for the computation? So, first, we need the mean. Aside from that, we need the population standard deviation, or lagay ko na dito standard deviation. Next, we need the sample size. And after that, we need the alpha. So, lagay natin dito si alpha. Pag meron na tayo nitong mga given na to, pwede na natin makuha si margin of error E. Pag meron na tayong margin of error E, ang gagawin lang natin is i-add natin siya or isusubtract sa mean. And we are going to end up with a confidence interval. One is for the lower limit. And then yung isa naman na column, lagay natin for the upper limit. Ayan. Now that you have the proper labels, dito tayo. Lagay natin si mean. Ano ang mean natin dito? According to our example, the mean score is 68. The standard deviation is 3. The sample size, it was taken from 36 students. The alpha, ayun, ang level of confidence natin ay 90%. So, ang alpha natin ay 1 minus 90 is 10 or 0.10. 0.1. Now, for the margin of error. Sabi sa formula natin, kanina, balikan natin yung formula. Ba, ayaw niya lumabas. Ayan. So, the formula for E is Z alpha times sigma over the square root of n. So, pwede nyo siyang ilagay na ganon. But, if you are going to compute for it manually, you have to type in 1.645. Tapos, i-multiply mo siya sa sigma, which is 3. Tapos, si 3, i-divide mo pa by the square root. Ito yung function natin for square root of your sample size, n. Diba medyo nakakalito siya? So, you will end up with the value 0.8225. Gusto nga natin mag-shortcut. Paano yung shortcut? So, instead of typing in all the numbers, you can simply type in equals. Tapos, meron tayong formula na confidence.norm. It returns the confidence interval for a population mean using a normal distribution. So, confidence.norm, and then, input natin si alpha, 0.1. Si standard deviation, 3. Separated to by comma, ha? And then the size, sample size, 36. You will end up with 0.822426,813. Baka may magtanong, bakit iba po yung lumabas? 0.8224. Dapat po diba 0.8225? Nakaano na kasi to? Naka-round up si 1.645. This is not the true value of Z alpha. Ano lang to, approximated value lang din siya. So, marami pang kasunod yung 1.645 na yan. Okay? So, that's why for the margin of error, yung mas mahabang or mas maraming values, significant values, yung ipepresent niya sa'yo. So, we have 0.822426,813. But, again, you can always perform rounding of numbers. So, for the lower limit, just press equal. Then, we are going to make use of the mean, which is 68. And then, subtract our computed margin of error, E. And we have our lower limit, 67.1775732. And then, for the upper limit, it is equal to 68. Plus naman tayo. Plus the margin of error, 0.822426,813. Which is 68.822426,8. Again, you will get a different value if you perform manual computation because the margin of error that will be given to you by Excel contains more digits. Mas mahaba yung string niya ng digits. Now, let's go to the next example. Ayan. So, mag-estimate naman tayo ng population mean with unknown standard deviation, sigma. So, hindi natin alam daw kung ano yung population standard deviation. We have two techniques in solving for this one. All you have to do is to analyze your number of samples. If it is relatively large, say for example, it is greater than 30, pwede na natin yung i-consider as relatively large. Gamitin nyo lang yung ginamit natin na formula before. I-replace nyo lang si sigma by the letter S. Parehas lang. Gagamitin mo pa rin si C distribution. Okay? Let's have this as an example. A school goes on an annual field trip. A sample of 80 students are surveyed, and the average amount spent by students on food and beverages during field trips is 593 pesos and 84 centavos. And the sample standard deviation is approximately 369 pesos and 34 centavos. Use 95% level of confidence to find the confidence interval. Again, on your module, you can find the step-by-step procedure. All you have to do is to plug in the values to the formula and you will end up with the desired confidence interval. But for students who will use Excel, ito yung gagawin natin. Let's plug in the values from our problem. We have 593.84 for the mean. 593.84. Standard deviation is, malaki siya, 369.34. Ang sample size natin, marami sila. It's greater than 30. So, we have 80. Alpha natin, 95% daw. Di 100 minus 95 is 5. 5% in decimals is 0.05. Okay? Margin of error. Parehas lang yung gagamitin natin na formula. Confidence.norm. Input natin si alpha. Input natin si standard deviation. And nagahang na siya ulit. After that, input natin si sample size. Ayan. Pag mo, just close it with a parenthesis and then just press enter. You will end up with 80.9337. For the lower limit, it is equal to the mean minus the margin of error. Okay, so your lower limit is 512.96291. Upper limit, so we have mean plus margin of error. 674 and 77 cents. Approximately ganon yung values natin. So, the true mean, interpret natin siya, the true population mean lies between 512.91 and 674.77. That is the mean amount spent by students on food and beverages during field trips. It's between these two values. Okay? I hope that was clear. Now, let's go to the last part. Ay, salamat, last na. So, estimating the population mean with unknown population standard deviation. So, dito magko-compute pa kayo ng standard deviation. Pero yung ipapakita kong example, given na si standard deviation. But that is not always the case, ha? On your upcoming activities, you will be the one to solve for the sample mean. You will also be the one to solve for sample standard deviation. Now, let's look at this example. You want... Ano ba yan? You want to find the average GWA of graduating students to see how the batch performed. The average GWA of 10 randomly selected graduating students is found out to be 1.85, with the standard deviation of S is equal to 0.395. Calculate the 99% confidence interval for the true average GWA of all graduating students. So, balikan natin si formula. So, for the formula dito, pagkuha mo ng interval for the true population mean, parehas lang yung gagamitin nyo. But for finding the margin of error, iba na po. Ito ay T alpha over 2V times the standard deviation from the sample over the square root of n. Now, may inintroduce tayo na dalawang bagong letters, T at saka V. Ano si V? Si V ay degrees of freedom. Notation natin ay df, which is equal to n minus 1. Basta meron kang sample size, makukuha mo si V. Okay? Now, paano naman si T alpha over 2? Ano naman yon? So, ito po siya. It is represented by this table. Ayan. So, dito, ayaw niyang tumaas. Ayan. So, ito si V. Dito nyo ilo-look up yung n minus 1 nyo. And then, ito naman yung mga T alpha over 2. Take note ha, hindi basta meron kayong alpha, yun na yung ilo-look up nyo dito. I-divide nyo pa siya by 2. So, to make it even clearer, let's look at the example. So, ito yung example natin kanina. You want to find the average, blah, blah, blah. Calculate 99% confidence interval. So, what is our alpha here? Our alpha is 1% or 0.01. So, si 0.01, kailangan mo pa siyang i-divide by 2. What is 0.01 divided by 2? 0.01 divided by 2 is 0.05. So, magkakaroon ka ng 0.05 and then you will look it up on the table. Magsusum in na naman tayo. So, di ba meron tayong 10 students? Our V minus, ayan. Our V is N minus 1. So, V is N minus 1. E di 10 minus 1, we have 9. So, dito lang po tayo titingin sa row na to. Yan. Tapos, diba, ang margin of error natin is 0.01. Margin of error. Alpha natin is 0.01. Eh, i-divide mo pa siya by 2. Eh, di 0.05. So, kunin natin yung intersection ng 9 at saka 0.05. You will see 3.250. Sana nakikita nyo siya. Nasusundan nyo yung cursor ko. So, ito po siya ha, 3.250. Zoom in ko siya, tapos lagyan ko ng annotation para mas madali nyong ma-look up. So, DF, wala pala akong pen. Ayan. Ang DF po natin dun sa problem, ay 10 minus 1. So, we have 9. So, ito lang po yung titingnan natin, 9. Tapos, ito naman po, ang alpha natin ay 0.01. Ang kailangan natin ay alpha over 2. So, ang alpha over 2 natin ay 0.01 over 2, which is equal to 0.05. 0.05 pala. Ayan. So, dito tayo titingin. Kunin natin yung point of intersection nila. Oops. Yan. So, ito po yung point of intersection nila. 0.3 ano ba to? 3.250. Okay? I hope that was clear. Let's go back to our Excel computation. Okay. So, for the Excel computation, magpapalit po tayo ng formula. Ha? So, for the mean, input natin siya dito, that is 1.85. For the standard deviation, it is found out to be 0.395. Sample size natin ay 10 lang. 10 lang sila na tinanong. Ang alpha natin, kung ano yung nilagay dito, syempre. So, we have 99%, that is 0.01. 0.01. Margin of error natin, hindi na po tayo confidence.norm. It is confidence.t. Ito na po yung kailangan natin. And then input your alpha, your standard deviation, and then your sample size. You will end up with 0.45936,852. For the lower limit, just input your mean minus the margin of error. Alright? Next, mean plus margin of error. So our confidence interval now is 1.44, 2.26. Okay? I hope that was clear. Ganun lang po yung pagkuha ng mga confidence interval. Remember, wag nyo siya ipepresent sa akin na lower limit, upper limit. You have to present it using this way. Ito yung susundin nyo. Yung nakasulat dun sa mga module nyo. Okay? So, thank you very much. Ay, edit ko lang to. 0.05 na nga lang pala siya kasi ngayon ko lang napansin. 0.005 na lang siya. Kasi na-divide na natin siya by 2 earlier. Okay? Thank you for staying with me for the duration of 25 minutes. And please wait for your upcoming activities. I will post it on your Google Classroom. Thank you and bye!